Welcome back, everyone. I'm Tom Murphy, and this is Trinidad Now on Trinidad Times Television. Thank you for joining us. With me today is lifelong resident Sonnie Leone. Sonnie, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for asking me.
You are running for City Council. I think this is your first time.
Yes, it is.
One of the things, Sonnie, you're well known in the community. We know that, but we also know that a lot of people have moved here that probably don't know you, that didn't grow up and go to school and stuff like that. This is going to be an opportunity for you to not only refresh people's memories that do know you, but to introduce yourself to people that don't know you. So what I'm going to ask, and we went through the questions before, is let's take as long as you want and tell me whatever it is that you want about your personal background. For example, where were you born? Where have you lived? Where were you educated? Your spouse? How many children do you have? Where are they now? Those types of things.
Okay. Well, my name is Frank Leone, Jr.
I always have. Just talk to me. It's just.
I always have went by Sonnie. I always have went by Sonnie. That's what most of the people know me here in Trinidad. I was born in Trinidad. I grew up in Trinidad. I went to 2 years at Trinidad State Junior College and got an associate in applied science degree. I went to Pueblo, at that time it was called Southern Colorado State College. Mm-hmm. I went there for 2 years and got a mechanics. And I didn't just only take the course, I took all the subjects, English, math, geography. I took everything that they had there. It ain't a certificate, it's a diploma from Southern Colorado State College. I came back to Trinidad. My parents and my grandfather started a business here in the late 40s. And I came back here after I got my diploma and went as not as a partner, but as a person in the business. I was married in 1973 to Sophie Leone. Most of the people here in Trinidad know her as Toots. I have 2 children. Wayne, who is in business with us, and he takes care of our crushing operation. I have Timmy Jean Terry, and she's married to Joe Terry, Jr. She's a teacher in Sunset Elementary School in Pueblo. My long ambition was to come here to Trinidad, to come back to Trinidad even after I went to school and be part of the business. Since I have come back to Trinidad, when I came back to Trinidad after graduating, and there was a couple ready-mix companies here in town, they were going to start building the hospital and the high school. And it was one contractor.
So, what year was this?
1970 is when they were going to start building the hospital and the high school.
Okay.
And the contractor came to us and asked us if we could supply the sand and gravel for the operation that they were going to do, because at that time there it was unfounded to have anywhere near 5,000 yards of concrete in 1 year. The 2 ready mixes that were here had a neighborhood of, they'd have 3,500, 2,500. That was unfounded. But the contractor said, I'm going to move my own plant in if you want to supply me with the sand and gravel for the operation, for the 2. And at that time there, our sand and gravel operation was being moved to where we are here east of Trinidad because the dam was being built. Mm. And that's where our sand and gravel operation was up there. So we moved to our sand and gravel operation. We moved east of Trinidad. We bought the property where we're at now, and we developed that property. That was a ditch. That's all that was there was a junkyard, if anybody remembers that far back. Right. We decided to start the ready-mix business because the contractor told us, if you want to get in the ready-mix business, maybe now would be the time to do it. Otherwise, we're moving a plant in here. So we got in the ready-mix business, and basically...
So maybe this is a dumb question. Ready-mix is another term for cement?
Sand and gravel, yes. Ready-mix is it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It's like talking to somebody in the military. The lingo that you is secondhand to you isn't. It's like,
right.
Okay.
That's so. Right. And we got into the ready-mix business, cement business, if you want to call it. Concrete. Cement is actually a sack of cement. As ready-mix is concrete.
Okay.
That's the difference between the 2.
Okay.
But anyway, we got into the ready-mix business. My dad was always, his part was always sand and gravel. That's what he loved. So when we got into the ready-mix business, my parents went and mortgaged everything they had, their house, their pickup, all the machinery that we had in the sand and gravel was paid for. We mortgaged that to get into the ready mix. We learned a few lessons that were hard in that particular era.
Mm-hmm.
When we came out of that, that was a 2-year job, almost a 2-year job for the new high school and gymnasium and the new hospital. And now they're figuring to update the hospital so you guys can remember how long that was, 1970,
right.
71.
Right.
And when we got out of that particular area, we did a good job. We had a good reputation. And there was different jobs coming up, but we worked a long time to make the payments to come out to where we are today. My son runs the ready mix. Runs the sand and gravel part of the business and does a heck of a job. We've been fortunate to have good employees. My wife is the backbone of one of the backbones of our job, along with our employees. We have employees that are anywhere from, my youngest employee right now is a year. They range anywhere from 10, 12, 15, 30, 35, and I just had one retire that was 42 years.
That's a long time.
He just retired 42 years. My daughter, she has one girl. My son is not married. And we all work together to make our business work. One complements the other one. We have a landscape yard, and to have the landscape yard, you got to have gravel. To have the ready mix concrete plant, you got to have gravel and sand. So we all complement each other, and my employees are the best that I think they are.
But you have a lot to be proud of.
Yes, I do. I am very proud of the operation that we've done, and we've struggled. Trinidad, if anybody's been here as long as we have, and our business is going on 72 years in January of 2018. That's a long time, and we have a lot of struggles. Sometimes you have good years, and there was a lot of times you had bad years.
Right.
We struggled through it. Our employees stuck with us, and that's where we're at today.
You had said earlier that, back before the hospital and the school, that there'd be 2,500 to 3,500 yards, or not yards, but
yes, yards.
Is it for a typical business? So can I ask, what do you do now? Is it much more than that? Or
Well, we do
do
somewhat more than that. The biggest job we ever had was in 2007 when they started changing the bypass.
Okay.
That was 35,000 yards on each side.
Oh, okay.
That's the biggest job we've ever had. Even when we had the dam job, that was a 5-year job, that Trinidad Dam.
Right.
That was a 5-year job. But we weren't in the ready mix at that time. We were just in the sand and gravel. We supplied sand and gravel.
Okay.
Then as it progressed and they had the main part done, then we did supply the spillways, the parapet wall that's on side when they increased the top of the dam because the spillway was wrong. We did stuff like that. But other than that, the Trinidad bypass was a 5-year
What about
job.
the interstate?
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, not the bypass over here, but
No,
what
I'm
about,
talking about the interstate going across the
Oh,
top.
okay,
That was
that's
a
what I was-
5-year job. That was from Lawrence Construction.
Okay. Oh, I was thinking the bypass out here.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
The bypass over there was around 2,500 yards.
Okay. And that's
When
been a few years since they've done that.
But in 2006, when they let the overpass out, I call it the overpass, Interstate 25,
Right.
and they redesigned it through the city of Trinidad. They did the northbound, then they come back and did the southbound.
Right.
We had that project as far as the concrete. But that's the biggest job we've ever done
Good.
in the concrete. But it was a 5-year job.
Right.
2.5 years on one side and 2.5 years on the other side.
Right.
And we had special mixes that were designed by a laboratory. And them special mixes were a trial that they gave Lawrence to do in the state of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And it was called self-consolidating concrete, which probably maybe you won't understand. But self-consolidating concrete is a special concrete, and we had the School of Mines for a little ready-mix company like ours, they came down and did a thesis on it.
Wow.
It was the first one of the first ones that done in the state of Colorado. And they got federal money to do it. And what it did is the piers down in the river, they're right there by where the train is, which would be west of the train, that hold the overpass, that hold the interstate up. Then we're poured to where you don't use any kind of vibration. No vibrators to vibrate the concrete when you put it in the forms.
Okay.
and it was pumped in there. And it's pumped in from the bottom and pumped up, and it finds its own level. And it's something to see, that concrete will flow uphill. And we were actually guinea pigs. They actually told us, you'll be the guinea pigs of this.
All right, so a couple technical questions. I don't get how it would flow upwards, and do you have
They pump it through a pump on the bottom, and they pump it up.
and then it solidifies?
It comes down. It just keeps on coming
What
down.
what keeps it up here?
The form.
Okay.
You're pumping it up from the bottom. So in other words, you're filling the bottom,
Right.
and it keeps on coming up till it gets to the top. And they had ladders up there and all the way around. And they would, when they get to the top, they just stop pumping. They don't have to get in there and finish it. They don't have to do nothing. It finds its own level.
Amazing.
Yes, it is.
So is that something that they're doing in other places now, since this was the first test
They're
case?
doing some, yes. And basically, the way we did it, we had to have a laboratory, a certified laboratory in Pueblo, concrete laboratory, design that mix. And somebody else that has their own engineer on site, like a big company, they could design their own mix, and it's theirs.
Right.
Nobody can ever take that away from them. My design, anybody could go look at it and say, this is what Leone poured in Trinidad, Colorado.
Right.
This is what we're going to pour.
Really?
And they could take that. The state highway has that mix. They'd have to design it, but they could know whatever quantities of cement I had in there, quantities of water reducing admixtures. We had 2 or 3 different admixtures that we put in there.
Right.
That takes the place of water. We could actually pour in the river, in a hole, whenever you pour in the river in a hole, and this is getting maybe kind of complicated, but I'm going to explain it.
I'm fascinated.
Whenever you pour a caisson which holds the pillar up, before you pour the pillar, you got to have solid ground. So they drill down until they find solid, anywhere from 36 inches in diameter to 42 inches in diameter. And it could be 30 feet, it could be 35 feet, it could be 40 feet. Once they hit solid, then they got to go into solid rock, anywhere from 2 to 5 feet. And then you're ready to pour. Well, as you pour beforehand, any other job we've ever done, you have a pump down in there, they put a hose down in there, and you're pumping the water out, and you're pouring the concrete in. Keep on pouring the concrete in. You divert the water. If it's in the river, you divert the water, so you're just getting seepage in there.
Right.
The additive that we had encapsulated the concrete. We was able to pour right with the water. Right with the water, the river right here, they don't have to, and that hole is filling up with water all the time. We're pouring down in there, and it's filling up all the time. And when you reach the top with the concrete, if that water was clean on the bottom, you could take it and drink it because there's no concrete in it. That concrete's encapsulated.
Wow.
There was a lot of stuff done here on this particular Interstate 25 job.
Right.
That was, some of it was developed by the state of Colorado, but most of it was developed by the contractor. That was what they called a concrete build project.
So it's not like your recipe that you can patent?
No, I can't do it.
Okay.
Can't do that, Pat.
All
Can't
right.
do it. I wish I could.
All right.
But I can't.
So this is a little bit off, it's not off subject, but, watching the History Channel, the Romans are the one that invented concrete, right?
Right.
And is it true we still can't match some of the things that they've done?
Some of it, yeah, you can.
Because they don't know? Can't they break it apart and analyze it? Or
I don't know what they can do, if they use a different kind of lime or what they did, but that's like a secret. They've been trying to
and
do
it's
that for
gone.
years.
Yeah. But it's amazing what they did.
Yes, they did.
So, fascinating.
And so that was one of the biggest projects we were on. It was a 5-year project, and we did get 2 awards for that project. I got them posted down there in my ready mix operation there at the office. And we also poured a lot of the concrete approaches to the bridges, where usually they do that with somebody else comes in and does that. They do it with they call it central mix plant. The plant mixes it up, its own cement, concrete, and they dump it in a dump truck, and they go put it in front of a laydown machine just like you would asphalt.
Right.
But we did a lot of that out of the ready mix truck in this particular.
Okay. It's really interesting.
But that's where we're at. We have a sand and gravel operation, like I said, that my son takes care of, and we are pretty well noted in this part of Colorado, southeastern part of Colorado, because down here, our pits are pretty dirty. You got to do a lot of cleaning up to make gravel that's spec, and all of our gravel is spec by the state of Colorado. We have all spec material, and most of that material is made right here in Trinidad, where we have our pit east of Trinidad on 160.
Okay, interesting.
I think that I went to what I do and what I stand for.
Okay.
I'm proud of my product. I'm proud of the people that work for me. I'm proud of my family, and I think that we've supplied and did a lot of stuff, a lot of different things for the city of Trinidad in the last, let's put it this way, 72 years.
Right. And you invested in Trinidad.
Right.
You know, the economists say every dollar you spend gets spent 7 more times.
Right.
You know,
and all of our people are from Trinidad.
Okay.
Except for one that travels from Raton every day and one that travels from Walsenburg, and he's been with us a long time.
Right.
But most of our people live here in Trinidad. They spend their money here in Trinidad.
Okay. Excellent. Is there anything else generally about your background? We're going to get into the other questions that I told you about. So,
well,
I don't want to cut you off.
No. I think I put pretty much my background. I'm a hard worker.
Okay.
I'm a problem solver.
Well,
Whenever you have a business,
yeah,
you got to do that.
yeah. All right. So the next question: past public involvement, elected, appointed, voluntary, other positions held, include specific time, places, years you're involved in each position. You know, I'm not so worried about the years and things.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay. Let's start. I'll start with current, and we'll work my way down.
Okay.
Currently, I sit on the Planning and Zoning Board. I sat on the Planning and Zoning Board for 13 years off and on. Not steady, but off and on. I was put on by Harry Sayers, who was the mayor. I was put on by Joe Riorda 2 times as a mayor. During the time that I was off, the city of Trinidad asked me to come back, and I came back and served like somebody's term that had left. I was currently just here in the last month put on the board again. I've served as vice chair during this time, and I'm still on the board now as just a regular board member.
Okay.
I serve on the Trinidad Catholic Cemetery. I've been on Trinidad Catholic Cemetery since 2001. I was put on the Catholic Cemetery, was asked to be put on the Catholic Cemetery by, at that time there, he owned the taxi cab station. And also Willie Snyder-Sitch, who was a part of the member of the board, asked me to be on the board because they were missing one. So I was put on the board, and I was a member of the board. And until Freddie Tavello, who was president of the board, vice president of the board, secretary of the board, and so on, he basically ran that. And he brought it back from when he retired. He decided to be, that's what he wanted to do, and that's what he did. After he was sick, I was asked if I could take his reins. It was pretty tough to take his reins, means that I was in business, because he was there every single day. Being that I was down the road, I decided to help him out. So I went there, and then after he passed away, I was elected to be president. And as you know, Tom, you have you know the history of that.
Sure.
But anyway, I was president, and I just got reelected president here a while back. So what I do is I'm there at least 3 times a week. I talk with the employees. We brought the cemetery back. We spent some money on it, but we brought the cemetery back to where it ain't still where it should be, but we're working on it, and we work on it all the time.
Right.
We're spending a lot of money on it every year. The cemetery had never been fertilized in over 30 years. To not have a problem as a conflict of interest means that we own a landscape yard and we have fertilizer. All of our fertilizer is bought from Big R. We ask them for a price, they give us a price. We've asked different people for a price, and we usually get a price from them.
Okay.
So there's no conflict of interest. We have some good employees there. We have Luke Apodaca, who has been there for about 12, 13 years. And he basically oversees everything, and he's a working person. I was also put on the County Construction Appeals Board by Dr. Biber when he was county commissioner. And I don't remember what year that was. And
Late 90s, early 2000s, maybe?
it wasn't 2000s. I think it was way before that.
90s that he was?
I think it was 90s.
Maybe even almost 80s.
Yes, I don't remember. But at the same time I was put on there, Mr. Salvato was put on there too. George Salvato, he was a contractor here in town.
Right.
And we served on that board there. So I also was president, vice president, and secretary of the Trinidad Optimist Club for 3 years when the Trinidad Optimist Club was here. On them boards, I think that I've done justice to all of them. Being that I was still working, and I still am working to this day, I like what I'm doing. When I don't like what I'm doing, then maybe I'll think about retiring. But right now, everybody's got problems.
Right.
The city's got problems. Leone Sand and Gravel's got problems. Everybody's
got
got problems.
Trust me.
Tom,
I got
Tom's
problems.
got problems. But you try to solve them.
Yeah.
And I solve problems every day.
Right.
When you're in business, no matter what you're in,
Right.
as a mortuary, me as a sand and gravel, ready mix, and landscape yard, you always got problems. So you got to solve them.
Well,
And I think I'm getting pretty good at it.
my thing is until you quit, you're not a loser. It's when you quit, and I know how you feel. I've been knocked down a lot in my life. I keep getting up for some reason, but that's what you got to do.
I think maybe you're not a native of Trinidad, but let me tell you something. When you're in Trinidad, you got to get back up. That's just the way it is.
When the bully
You got to
punches
get
you
back
in the
up.
nose, it's like you
get
got to
back up and
stand
go.
up for
Like
yourself.
I said before in my previous statement,
Yeah.
my parents mortgaged everything they got, everything they had.
Right.
And when it came time to start paying it off and paying it off and paying it off, she was asked one time when she went to a bank here in Trinidad, I ain't going to mention the bank, and said,
Right.
you know, I don't know if you should ask for another loan, Mrs. Leone. This is my mother.
Right.
Because you guys ain't doing too good. And she says, I want to appear in front of the board.
Oh wow.
And she says, the president of the bank said, well, I can ask if the board wants. He said, but they've got your paperwork. And she appeared in front of the board and she asked them for the money. And a certain person on the board, they were pretty nice people. They said, do you think you're going to be able to pay this back? And she says, you've never missed a payment on me, even if you only got the interest. But if I have to come down here and scrub your floors on my hands and knees, you're going to get paid. And that's the kind of people we are. And we're still like that today. I used to believe in a whole handshake. Nowadays, you can't do that all the time.
Right.
Sometimes it just ain't no good. But I still believe in people. I still trust people. And that's why our business is where it's at today.
Well, congratulations. I think that's an incredible story. There's a lot of Americans like that, but that's pretty incredible. God bless you guys for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before I move on, are there any other positions or anything that you haven't thought about or we skipped over or whatever?
Well, I think that's
Just wanna
about
make
the
sure.
ones I've been on.
Okay. All right. One of the big questions. What's your reason for running?
My reason is running is I brought some of that up. I'm a problem solver. And I think Trinidad's going in the right direction. I have no problem with that. But I think there's other things that can be done. And one of my main things is public safety. I've talked to people here in Trinidad since I've been on planning and zoning. People call me all the time and I refer them back to the city. Some of the stuff they ask me I can't answer. And it ain't up to my job to go down there and find out. It's up to them. And I tell them who to call, who to talk to, if they have to go down there, where they can find them, what their names are. I tell them that. Mm-hmm. But people call up. And so one of the reasons that I decided to run was, one is public safety. There was an incident here. My mother, and maybe I shouldn't bring this up because this may be a long one.
It's your choice.
Okay.
Because
My mother's in the nursing
there's
home.
no time constraint.
Okay. My
So
mother's
I'm not
mother's
gonna
in
cut
the
you
nursing
off.
home. She's 92 years old. And she was one of the backbones of our business when her and my dad had it. And my aunt, who was 85 years old, which is her sister, came down here with her son to see my mother because she lives in Montrose. And this was back here in July. And she come here, and so they went down to Chimino's Park. They were in Chimino Park. She brought her 6-year-old little grandson with them. And they were there in Chimino Park. And the little boy came up to his dad. They were in the water. And his grandmother and said, "Look what I found." And I ain't going to mention it on this particular incident.
Okay.
And they stood here for a few days, and then they went. My little nephew is into trains. I mean, he's into trains. So the next day they decided to go to the train. And as you know, they got a fence around that train.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle put his grandson over the fence to let him see the train. My aunt's on the side by the river where the walking trail comes down, so she's on, it'd be the north side of the train. You've got the river down here and you've got the walking trail.
Right.
And there's a homeless person taking a bath down there with no clothes on.
That's not good.
That's not good at all. She came to me, and they were getting ready to go home the following day. And she said, "What the hell is going on in Trinidad?" And maybe I shouldn't say this, Tom, but I'm going to try and keep it as best that I can. I said, she said, "I've never seen this before in my life." She's from Montrose. And she said, "Man," she said, "do we have this in Trinidad? I mean, in Montrose?" "You bet we do. Not nowhere near what you have here in Trinidad." She says, "In our parks, they're lit up at night just like it's daytime. And the police department goes through them 3 times a night." And I said, well, after she told me that, I got to thinking about it. And people had asked me last time to run, and I decided not to. And so I started asking some questions. And the questions and the answers I was getting wasn't bad answers, but they weren't good either. The police department is understaffed. Bad. They have 3 people at night and 3 people in the day that are on the streets. They used to have 4 and 5. Right now, if you have an accident, if I have an accident and I hit you, and there's nobody hurt, and at the same time they have a domestic violence, they have to go to that domestic violence. They can't come to me and you. We have to either exchange whatever we have to exchange because they don't have the people to do it. That's bad.
Right.
That's public safety.
Right.
You got people that have come since I've talked to them. They're afraid to go to Safeways. They're afraid to go to Walmart in the nighttime. They're afraid to even be outside of their house after hours.
Right.
On account of what's panhandlers, people walking back and forth through their places.
Let me interject 2 things here. Because, you know, I film county meetings too, and I'm there. And I filmed the ambulance the other night. There's 2 things. One, it's a county issue as far as part of the problem is the police arrest the people, but with the DA, it's underfunded. And the city gave the DA's office last year money, I think 40 or 50,000.
50,000.
50,000. And I think Henry Solano is the county's put on a 1 cent sales tax. So part of that is for public safety.
Right.
So some of this, I think that we need to address. And I don't understand, I've been a part of it, that the county just won't approve giving the commissioners money, because that's what funds, it's one thing to have the police arrest them, but if we can't follow through with the criminal. That. So I'm just, do you have, so I should be posing the question. And then I have another issue I want to tell you about. So do you have any thoughts on that, on funding?
I think that I think not knowing the history, not knowing a whole lot of history of the previous DA that maybe was up there.
Right.
But I've talked to Mr. Solano, and he's got some teeth behind him.
Right.
He's got some teeth behind him.
Right.
He wants to do what's right, and he wants to help the city too.
Right.
And as far as with the county having to give money, if they ain't got no money, they can't give it. But in my opinion, some of this that's going on, that the county and the human resources and everything else up there, part of that is the city too.
Right.
Because all these people are going there, and they're maybe alcoholics, drug users, or whatever. They're going there to get help, and the county's having to. I realize the county gets money for that, but the city of Trinidad has to help there too.
Well,
I think it's got to combine in.
Right.
You got to combine in. You got to have city helping county, county helping city.
Right.
And that's why one of my pet reasons for doing this is public safety. If you don't recognize you have a problem, you can't solve it.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
Right. Well, interjecting here, I think that we need to pass this. We've needed to pass something for the county for a long time, and some people are like, well, you know, they don't want to give them money. They don't trust them. But it's critical.
Yes, it is.
I agree with you.
It's critical right now.
Here's something else that happened this week. Wednesday, I was filming the ambulance, and Audra and the new finance gal, Navarette, came, and you know, E911. Well, the city pays 60%, the county pays 40%. The county can't fund their $140,000, so they're asking the ambulance. That is public safety too.
Right.
So that's, you know, if you're on the city, that's going to be on your plate. What I'm saying is I agree with you. Public safety is an issue. There's two examples, DA's office and now 911, which may be completely underfunded and
police
understaffed.
department. Like I just mentioned it, police.
So
we need more policemen.
I agree with you. It's an issue, and so it's something that needs to be solved. But in part, hopefully, I'm going to help get the word out with the county. I'm hoping that the voters will do something about it, because just like the ambulance now is so well funded, and they have the best equipment and well trained, and they're paid well. You know, if we want services, we need to pay for it.
That's right. And the average person, the person on the, I went and talked to the chief of police. And I talked to him. I had a little talk with him, Charlie Glorioso. And I went in there with a complete perspective, because I had an incident earlier in the year with a car parked in a zone that had a handicap. Me and my wife were going to eat, and that car was parked in a handicap zone. And so the young child, instead of being able to cross the street, there was a car there. He went around and jumped out in front of me, and I thought I hit him. I stopped the car, and he ran up the street, and I ran after him, but I didn't hit him.
Right.
But I called Charlie. Well, I called it in,
Right.
and I waited there. And I waited for quite a while before somebody came. And I had a problem with that, so I went and talked to Charlie. But anyway, after he explained to me, he's doing a lot of things, but he's doing it with his manpower that he has.
Right.
And that's like me. If I don't have the tools to do my work, I can't do it in a number one manner.
Right.
He needs more guys. He needs more men. And them men that are down there that are putting in their time, and for the city of Trinidad, they need to have some kind of a pay difference.
Okay.
What they're making down there and what the people are starting out in Pueblo is what people are making here in the police department, fire department, everything. Everything is public safety.
Right.
Every entity the city has is public safety, from the top to the bottom. All the workers. If we didn't have the workers we have in the city of Trinidad, you wouldn't have nothing.
Okay.
They got to take care of the city, but we got to take care of our entities.
Okay.
And one of the main entities is a public safety.
Well,
they're understaffed. They're
Right.
buying their own stuff. And I'm going to say something, but maybe it's going to come back and haunt me. But all the cameras in the city of Trinidad right now, there ain't none of them working. Zero. Now, the city of Trinidad has allocated money through the marijuana to the police department and that to put up cameras, which will
Right.
be put up probably soon.
Right.
But right now, all the cameras that are here, the ones that we're working, were put out by the hailstorm. There isn't a camera working any place in the city of Trinidad.
I didn't know that. I know they're putting money into replacing them, but I didn't know that. I'm going to switch to the next two questions because I want to stay on the public safety part because this is an issue, and that is, what should we do about the panhandlers and the homeless?
You know, I've thought about that. I've thought about that, and I don't know where there's a rational reason, because it seems like they're protected. They're protected by the government.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I don't know if you can get and put in. I've been thinking about, and I talked to, and Mr. Glorioso talked to me, and about a trespassing law. And I don't know how to implement that. Or about signs that would say, I don't know what you want to say, maybe it's going to come back and haunt me too. Don't feed these guys. Don't keep on giving them stuff to eat. I go to work pretty early in the morning, but I've seen people across from McDonald's, and I've seen them same people in the nighttime behind Tony's Diner. So what it is, it's a circle. They stay
Right.
one place one time, one place another time, one place another time. And do I have as a problem solver, can I solve that? I'm going to give it a heck of a try. I don't know if I can. But I think if we all work together, the citizens, and get more citizens involved in this, along with your city council people, I think we can come up with maybe a solution.
Right. Let me just interject this. And talking to the other people, and I know actually it's a worldwide problem.
It is.
And nobody has a good solution.
Right.
It's kind of like North Korea to me. It's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you
Right.
don't.
That's right.
So, okay. The big elephant in the room that some people, that's been an issue here for a few years. And not a lot of people in the media, I think, up to this point asked it, but for the candidates. But what is your stance on marijuana?
Marijuana is here, okay? It was accepted by the state of Colorado. It was accepted by Trinidad, okay? And like I told you before, I've been on the planning and zoning board since that came in. You could look at my record. I voted no against some things because I thought it was wrong, and I didn't think they had their paperwork in order.
Right.
I did that. It's here. I think it could be regulated a little bit more, okay? I even asked Mr. Glorioso, going back to our previous, still public safety, if there was a enforcement officer, a marijuana enforcement officer. And he said, I'm the marijuana enforcement officer. I've asked to have one. I don't have to have an officer. I just have to have a person. It doesn't have to be an officer. And they turned me down. He said, so right now I'm the officer. It's bringing in money to the city of Trinidad. It is here. I don't think I'd ever want to see it in the heart of Trinidad. I don't think I'd want to see it there. I don't know if it's brought in. A lot of people tell me, well, it brought in all these people. We had some of that before. I don't know if it's brought in that or not. I can't answer that question truthfully. I just know we have a lot more panhandling here, homeless people, than we ever did. And you just brought that up. It's a whole country job.
Yeah.
Everybody's has.
But,
There's marijuana people that's talked to me because they think it's too much in here.
too much competition.
Too much marijuana.
Let me interject this though. In New Mexico, they limit the number of
Right.
Liquor licenses. So when the people that got the liquor licenses, those are worth some $500,000 to $1 million. And I thought when they did the 5 licenses, I thought, well, all right, so if one of the people that gets it, that's going to make it worth a lot of money. And of course they did 5 licenses, and
And
they
then
talked
15.
about, then they talked about a lottery, and then everybody's going to sue.
Right.
Then they went to all this, to open market, then they collapsed it.
You're
So,
right.
and Anthony said we did whack-a-mole. But there wasn't a clear path.
No, there wasn't.
Clearly. So it's interesting.
The city went into that, and being on planning and zoning, there was a lot of different things that we didn't know that we were green on. planning and zoning was.
Right.
And there was sometimes we asked questions, and the answers we got, they were wrong. But we had to go ahead and pass it.
Did you have some con artists coming through there, would you say,
Yeah.
with their paperwork?
Yes.
That
I won't remember, I won't mention the name. One came through and did a false survey and stamped Mr. Terry's survey stamp on that particular.
That's bold.
Yes.
Criminal,
Yes.
too.
And it was caught. It was caught by one of our board members. He did a good job.
Uh-huh.
And so he had to redo all that. And when he came back, he came to city council. And city council can override us in planning and zoning. And as far as whatever it was, and he got another survey from a person out of Colorado City, and they let him have his license.
Politics. Okay, before I move on, anything else about your stance or anything on marijuana?
No,
I don't want to.
like I said, it's
I don't
here.
want to cut you off.
It's
okay?
here. I think it can be regulated. I think we have enough of it, and the city has a cap now on some of it.
Right.
You know, and I think if you can regulate it and keep everybody on the same plane, so everybody's got to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got to do the same thing. Filtration systems, cameras, security. If they're all on the same plane, then I think that we can regulate it.
Right.
But you've got to have somebody that knows and has to interject when it needs to be interjected.
Okay. Last question in this segment. How much time will you devote to city council? And actually, a second part. You're already on planning and zoning. Will you have to get off?
Yes,
so
I
two
will.
parts. How much time and will you have to get off?
Well, I can put as much time as anybody else can. I put in time on planning and zoning board. There's sometimes we have to go to special meetings in the nighttime. Mm-hmm. We have our regular meetings, and there's sometimes we have to go to special meetings. We worked on, so I don't know if maybe that's come up in another segment, but we worked on the comprehensive plan for 2 years. 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I was proud to be part of that. And we went sometimes 2 or 3, 4 times a month to meetings that lasted anywhere from 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
To come up with that comprehensive plan that the city of Trinidad adopted. And I hope that they go through with everything.
All right, so here's a follow-up question. Because I know in doing this in all these years, a lot of times they pay a lot of money for a plan and it goes on the shelf.
Right.
And nobody looks at it again. Are they implementing some of it?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think they want to.
Okay.
I think they want to.
That's good.
I think they want to. And they were really receptive to it. And a lot of people say, well, what is a comprehensive plan? That's a future for the city of Trinidad.
Right.
In X amount of time. But there's things in there that'll probably have to be changed as you go down the line.
Well, when you got started, wasn't model cities something that somebody envisioned and then it became? We wouldn't have the school, the hospital, the community center.
Model cities was way before me. That would have been with my mom.
Right.
But
But
I
they
got in when
envisioned
you
it.
had, I basically got in pretty green, just like we did when I told you we got in the ready mix business.
Right.
We're pretty green, you have to learn a lot of lessons. And I got in when Cougar Canyon. I was in Cougar Canyon and coming in from not knowing anything, coming into Cougar Canyon, we had books that we had to study that were 3 or 4 inches thick and people bringing stuff in every time you had a meeting, bringing stuff. I'd go home from work and spend 2 or 3 hours reading it, and I still wouldn't get it done. By the time we had the next meeting, I maybe was able to read and go through maybe 200 pages, and maybe I had 300.
Right.
You'd come back and get another pamphlet. I mean, it was hectic.
Yeah. That's the world we live in now.
Right. But
Right.
as far as time, I think I can put enough, I know I can put time in to help Trinidad.
Okay.
That's why I wouldn't be running if I couldn't put no time in.
Okay.
I put time in planning and zoning, and I put time in the comprehensive plan, and I can put time for the city of Trinidad.
Excellent. We're going to take a short break, okay?
That's fine.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tom Murphy. This is Trinidad Now. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Is it too long?